right, so I'm joined by Brett from the band Jestr, spelled Jestr, from Lafayette, Louisiana. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for being on the program. Happy Hour with Heather and Guest.
Right on.
I
Yeah.
went to school at Tulane, so I know it's New Orleans isn't so close to Lafayette, but I was anytime I recognize Louisiana, I always get excited.
Yeah. Hey, right on, man. Well, thanks for taking the time to have me on. I really appreciate that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. For those of you who haven't heard just any of Jester's music yet, I would recommend that you change that right away. I guess is this the debut album, The Dead and Riches?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
This was your first record, man.
So the debut album, The Dead and Riches, will be out February 11th of next year. There are a couple of singles that you can probably listen to ahead of time. So I will, including the Ghost of You, not the Ghost, but just Ghost of You. I would recommend. Well, listen to us talk first, then go check out the song, or check out the song first and then listen to us talk about it, whichever makes more sense.
Hey, that works, man.
But yeah, I apologize. I'm sort of talking a mile a minute here. So if
Oh,
there's, but I wanted to say when I did listen to the album today, and going into it, I didn't really know exactly the type of music that the band played. So it was a really nice surprise. Most of the stuff that I listened to is like really extreme, a lot of the newer bands is like extreme metal. So you guys are much different in terms of the output.
oh
I
yeah.
hate I hate trying to like label things. I feel like really most of these labels exist to give people something to argue about.
Oh yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
but one thing I think probably people hear sort of, like alternative or pop punk or punk or something, and they think really, just simple power chords. Um,
Right.
and one thing that was really nice about listening to all the whole album was how complex a lot of the songwriting was.
Thank you,
Um,
man.
yeah, in fact, Gold Beach, I thought really had a nice complexity. Um,
Yeah.
and with Spellbound had sort of an arpeggio type of playing. I'm just trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about, but
No.
but it was great. And then the song "The Fix." Now this might just be me, but it sounded a little bit like the track "Tempted" from the band Squeeze.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't I
I'm
don't
not
know if that may not have been a direct influence, but when I was listening to it, I was like, this reminds me of Squeeze a little bit. So
right on. Right
for
on.
those of you out there who are looking for more than just, you know, a couple kids in a garage putting some bar chords together, definitely check out The Dead and Riches when it drops on the 11th, and listen to it before then. It's probably streaming at a couple places.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
So
now I watched some of a different interview you had given. I guess metal had been your background before in terms of
yes.
playing.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I grew up listening to a lot of thrash metal. My dad is he grew up during that whole era and he plays guitar. So my whole childhood was all it's like Anthrax, Slayer, all the typical stuff, um, and then he listened to a lot of death metal growing up. So I listened to a lot of that. I never got super into it. So I'd be remiss to go naming off any death metal bands, but that was the environment I grew up in. And then I played in a metal band for a while. So yeah, that was the background, behind all of that. And then of course I grew up listening to a lot of classic rock and then grunge naturally. Just I was young during the tail end of that era, and then the kind of, I guess you'd call post grunge stuff of the 2000s. So I'm familiar with all of that, but metal was definitely like heard it all the time growing up.
Sure, sure. Well, but I mean, it sounds like you were sort of exposed to a lot of very different types of music that you then, found your sort of niche with this newer project. Which is, I mean, it's really great. It's great because again, I usually, I mean, I don't really have a music background per se, but metal is a lot of the music that I listen to.
Yeah.
But it's always great to find, new contemporary bands who sort of buck the trend that I could add, to my playlist just to keep the variety good. But
Right
again,
on.
yeah, going into it, you make assumptions.
Right.
But what's great is that really there's a lot of complex songwriting going on, and the vocals are dynamite, and the playing is great. So for
Thank you,
those of
man.
you out there, if you're a fan of, that sort of alternative, the other thing I liked is you said is on Instagram, it reads, "Is swamp pop punk a thing?" And
Yeah.
I guess it is now. I guess you've created a new subcategory.
Hey man, trying to be a trendsetter, you know?
Yeah. Well, I hope that people will take the time to seek out the music because it really is great stuff.
Thank
There's a lot of you're building on some really cool elements that already existed, but I think you're taking it a little bit further than most people would.
you.
So
Sure. Yeah.
so it was really cool to check it out. And
Right on. I
that the
appreciate it.
fact that this is sort of a relatively new, project is great. I feel like there's still sort of room for growth, but you're sort of hitting it with both feet running.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm trying
However,
to. That's a lot of that is just I guess just having been in bands for a while and playing music and being a part of the whole thing, it's when I kind of started formulating this, it's just like I want to have all my ducks in a row from the get-go, so it's not as messy as typically is when you start a band and all that. And I think it's definitely played out in our favor for sure. Just having everything lined up and ready to go, so when we come out, it's like, hey, you got to take a look at this, and people go, okay, well, you actually have something to look at. So
yeah, well, it's great because I think people will get a taste of the album now, and then they'll pick it up when it drops in February. And I hope that things are beginning to calm down in Louisiana. At least you'll be able to start playing shows again
oh yeah.
if you
Yeah.
haven't already.
Yeah, we were able to squeeze in one here at the end of November, and then we have two here this month, and we're just kind of carefully, but for sure we're looking at stuff for next year and hoping that we can go out and really make an impression on the live circuit.
Yeah, that'll be great, and you'll be able to press the album.
Oh yeah.
Now I have to ask the band name. Where did that originate from?
Yeah, so it's kind of a spiritual thing. It's hard to describe, I guess, without sounding a little goofy. But I grew up in a very open-minded house, so I learned about all different types of religion and spirituality and all that stuff. And I've had my own experiences with it one way or the other. And so when people kind of ask like, what do you believe, or we get into that kind of conversation, it gets really convoluted, and I have my own personal thing, and I've just kind of called it Jestr. I don't know why. It was a particular experience I had, and that was the word that came to mind. I was like,
Cool.
yeah, I guess the Jester is what you call it, just some hippy dippy thing. And when I Googled it, I was looking at band names, and every band name in the world is taken. And I went and I thought, I was like, man, that'd make a cool band name. And I looked it up, and I fully expected there to be, 100,000 whatever bands that went by Jestr or the Jestr or whatever. And I think I found maybe two. I was like, okay. It's like, this is it. This is ours. And I took the E out at the end just to differentiate, and that was it.
That's great. Yeah, no, I definitely understand. Like I had a ruptured brain aneurysm a couple of years ago, and since
Wow.
then, it's a lot of what I've been trying to sort of put in perspective has to do with these sorts of, coincidences, or is it synchronicity, or is there more going on, or what does it all mean? So I
Right.
definitely understand and think that's awesome. Like if you're struck with the inspiration to do something like that, then that's great. I was
Yeah.
just I was just curious. Again, I liked the fact that you took the E out of it. Um, but
Right.
yeah, I didn't know what the story behind it was. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a little personal part of me. And then the more I learn about stuff, the kind of the weirder coincidences fall into place. So, from the get go, uh, kind of decided, purple is my favorite color. And I want it to be a theme throughout the band and all this stuff. And I was talking to somebody about horoscopes the other day. And so we went ahead and looked up all of my stuff. And my lucky color is purple, apparently. I was like, well, shit, and it's just little things like that sprinkled on with the Jester name and then with what we've been doing and all that. I was like, okay, when the universe is talking, I guess you need to be listening. But I'm listening.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's essentially, what synchronicity is, when there's got to be something more than just a coincidence going on. It's too fantastic for there not to be, for the universe not to be pushing you in a direction. So
Yeah. Oh
that's
yeah.
I completely dig that, and that makes this even better. I
Right.
was like that's a cool name to begin with, but now that I know what the story is, it's just like this is gravy or icing or whatever
Right.
analogy you want to use.
Yeah. Well,
So
thank
yeah, no, that's great. That's great. That's really cool. And so you guys have had a chance to play in November. You'll be playing a couple more gigs, and then sort of see what the opportunity is. Now, is this an album that you pretty much had in mind before you recorded it, or was this something that took a little while for you guys to?
Yeah, kind of. So before I had actually went in to record it, I had never sang before. Really, I'd just been playing guitar, and I started recording these little demos on my phone, just 30, 40-second riffs and a vocal melody, and then I called my buddy up, Dylan Frederick, who produced the album, recorded and did all the magic. Called him up. I was like, hey, I have a ton of demos. So do you want to kind of dig through them and see maybe if we can put something together? He was like, yeah. So we sat and we went through like 200 little like acoustic demos. And so a lot of those songs we kind of half wrote in the studio. But it was all little pieces of stuff that I had before. And the lyrics really didn't make a lot of sense. I didn't pull from any one experience in particular. They just kind of came out, and it's more so after the fact I can look back at those lyrics and identify what they mean to me, I guess, away from the situation from where they came. So it's just, yeah, it was a half spontaneous and half planned out, I guess.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it seems like there are a lot of layers to the band, a lot of layers to your experience with this. It would make killer liner notes when
Yeah.
if you put this out in vinyl at some point.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We would love to, man.
Yeah,
That would-
yeah, yeah. Well, I have a turntable that I picked up a few years ago, so I will definitely get the album if and when it comes out in vinyl.
Right
But
on.
but yeah, no, that's great. So the album, The Dead and Riches, comes out February 11th. And I
Yep.
know you have a social media presence. You're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You
Oh
got
yeah,
YouTube, Spotify, TikTok.
that's
Um,
it. We're
cool.
on pretty much anything and everything. We try to be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's again, I will say I really enjoyed the album. There's a lot going on that I'm gonna probably have to go back and listen to a second or third time just to sort of pick up everything. But are there any other things you wanted to say? Let people know. I mean, people can find you just
Yeah,
online.
yeah. So
Jestr.
any social media, Jester Band. We have a link tree up on. So if you find any one of our social medias, our link tree is going to be there to find everything else. But yeah, man. Other than that, we just we have the record coming out. We're gonna have a couple more singles coming out. Don't want to speak too much on that yet. Um, and then we got some shows here in Lafayette, but next year we're definitely going to try to travel around a bit. So looking
Cool.
forward to that.
Well, yeah. So get those singles when they drop. Keep track of Jester. They're making great music. Get the album when it comes out in February. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. Good luck with everything.
Thanks.